Okay. Please, let's confirm if you can see my screen. Oh, okay. Thank you. Our speaker, Iyiola Oyefeso, is a general counsel with 14 plus years of legal compliance and transactional experience. Currently, she is the group head of legal services at A&R Investment Group, where she directs the legal team and oversees local and international commercial transactions, such as acquisitions, joint ventures, among others. In addition to her legal expertise, she is also knowledgeable in business finance and has advised on acquisition transactions worth millions of dollars. She is passionate about building the next generation of lawyers. She offers mentorship for younger counsels and younger legal professionals. So please welcome with me Iyiola Oyefeso as she takes us through work-life balance. How do we balance working and also being a mom or being or life in general? Please let me see your reaction even as we clap for her in our reactions. Iyiola Oyefeso, over to you.
Thank you very much, Oluwatose. Good morning, everyone. It's lovely, lovely to be here. And I'm also very happy to be sharing with you about some of the strategies that I have used in balancing my career and domestic responsibilities. Now, I'm sure all of you would wonder, she's a general counsel, she's a lawyer, what's she doing among women in tech? Well, we have something in common. We're all mothers or aspiring mothers. We probably have homes that we nurture and manage as well. And I'm here to speak to you about how you can be a successful career woman, as well as manage your home in such a way that none of it suffers. So you're thriving in your career, but also your home is not 100% neglected, or is not neglected or consistently neglected. So having said that, I am going to start by sharing my screen now. Please let me know as soon as you see my screen. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So please let me know if you can see my screen, and I will put it in this mode. I will start as soon as I get confirmation. Thank you. Okay. I can.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, so the topic here is balancing career with domestic responsibilities, achieving harmony in life. I mean, we're all here because we have a career that we're seeking to. Um, I am going to have to move this. My apologies, my screen isn't moving. Okay, so let me escape. We all have career aspirations, and even though we have career aspirations, we don't want to fail in our domestic responsibilities. My screen is hanging. I'm trying to get it. I'm trying to escape from here. I think I'm going to stop sharing. So my apologies. There's something wrong somewhere. Um, can screen again. Okay. So I'm going to use this form of, I wanted to put it on slideshow mode, but it wasn't working. So I'm going to use this of, what's it called? Presentation mode, but it wasn't working. So I'm going to use this mode in presenting, and I hope it's fine. I hope you can still see my screen and the wordings are legible. We will start with an introduction. What does it really mean to balance your career with your domestic responsibilities? We'll look at that. We'll move on to looking at understanding some of the challenges that we face as we try to balance our career and our domestic responsibilities, both as mothers, as a wife, and as a friend as well, as a member of a family. Right. And then we'll move on to looking at strategies that can help us achieve work-life balance. And I've listed out a couple of them here that we'll speak about in detail as we proceed through my presentation. Right. And after that, we'll look at a case study. I'll be speaking about one or two of my experiences as I started my career and as I started becoming a mother. And I have been able to handle situations at work so that my family doesn't, my domestic responsibilities does not suffer. And I'm still able to thrive at work, right? So we'll start with an introduction. What really is, what do we mean by balancing um, your career? What does that mean? What does it mean to say you're balancing your career aspirations with your domestic responsibilities? Essentially, careers and your domestic responsibilities in such a way that neither is constantly and you are doing all of the work that would enable you reach that goal. While you're doing it, it's important for you to also ensure that your domestic responsibilities do not suffer. Please let me know that you can still hear me because I can see that there's some network instability from my end. So I just need confirmation that you can hear me. Network is fantastic. A thumbs
We
up
can
will
hear
do
you, ma'am.
in the chat section. Fantastic. Okay, so how am I able to achieve career success, right? While not ensuring that I do not neglect my family. My children are being cared for properly. The home front is being managed properly, and I'm still able to continue to relate with my friends and family as I should. Now, that is what we mean by balancing your career aspirations with domestic responsibility, being able to manage that. Now, it's not necessary that you will be able to pay equal attention to your career aspirations and your domestic responsibilities. As a matter of fact, in most cases, you don't find that you are able to pay equal attention to the both of them. But what we must ensure is that one does not suffer because we're concentrating too much on one, right? So we shouldn't dominate on an aspect of our life, such as our career, such that the other one, our family life, continuously suffers, right? And we should not, and if you have the aspiration to thrive in your career as well, you shouldn't dominate so much on your domestic responsibilities that every time you are now coming up with excuses. Oh, I had to take my child to the hospital. Oh, I had to do this so I couldn't meet my deadline. Oh, I had to do that so I couldn't deliver on this task, right? You must learn how to manage and balance the two aspects of your life so that both can thrive well, right? And that's what we mean by balancing your career aspirations and domestic responsibilities. And now the question that I want to ask everyone is, how can we, man, that's what we need to start thinking about. How can we manage our career goals, those lofty career goals that we have, in such a way that it does not negatively impact our domestic responsibilities and vice versa, right? That's the first step towards, having some sort of balance between your career aspirations and your responsibilities. Now, just before we move further, we should look at, the reason why the importance of balancing our career aspirations with domestic responsibilities. You obviously don't want to imagine a situation where you have crazy, you work long hours, right? you have crazy deadlines, um, you don't have time for your family, you don't have time to rest, you don't have time to rejuvenate, right? You will definitely have a breakdown, right? You'll have something, you'll be burnt out and you will be stressed. So, one of the advantages of ensuring that while I'm trying to achieve those lofty career aspirations that I have, while I'm trying to be a mom in tech, right? The home front does not suffer, one, and I'm also paying attention to my health as well. I'm paying attention to my health. I'm paying attention to my stress levels. I'm paying attention to relaxation as well, self-care. It's not just about the trying to achieve the career goal. So what are the advantages of ensuring that you have this required balance? It's that you will definitely have good, physical, you have improved physical and mental health. You are not stressed out, you are not burnt out, and you are able to give in your very best. And we'll talk about that as I proceed down, to the next steps. Another advantage or importance of balancing your career aspirations with domestic responsibilities is that it enhances your relationship quality, your relationship with your children, your relationship with your husband, your relationship with your friends, because now you have time to relate with it. It's not all about work. You also make out time, right, to be with your children. You make out time to be with your family, your husband. You make out time to be with your friends. You find time to attend events that you're supposed to attend. It's because the reality about this life is that when you keep, you know, focusing on work, you get to a point where you just feel lonely. You weren't keeping in touch with the friends you were supposed to be keeping in touch with because you felt like you needed to, achieve a goal, or you were just swamped with work. But at some point you feel isolated. So you don't want to be in that situation. What you want to be in, the kind of situation you want to be in, is one where you have good quality relationship. Now we move on to another advantage or importance of balancing our career aspirations, which is job satisfaction. Imagine that you had a fantastic job, right? You feel you are working, you are learning, you are growing, but more importantly, you have time to rest. You find time for family, to sit with your children, to instill the right values with them. You have time to, go to school for special events, to their school for special events, right? You have time to look at their work in school, their education, and follow and ensure that they're doing the right thing. They're progressing. They understand what they're being taught in school. And everything in school is going on well. You have the time to do all of that. You will feel fulfilled. You would have a sense of job satisfaction, just being able to do the both. You have it good in both, um, on both aspects, on your career and even at the home front. And what does that do for you? It increases your productivity because you are happy. So you want to give it your best. From a company's perspective, right? What that also helps a company do, what that helps a company to achieve is that their turnover rate reduces. Imagine that you're at a job where you feel satisfied, you love what you're doing, you are being productive at work. Will you be looking for another job? Absolutely not. And that's how an organization can also benefit from work-life balance. It reduces turnover and increases loyalty. Who wants to leave an organization that also ensures that I'm able to fulfill my domestic responsibilities, right? And then the last is, you just feel a sense of, you you there's a sense of fulfillment that you feel from being able to do so many other things apart from work. So it's just not all about work. It is about also pursuing your hobbies. It is about going on vacations. It is about going on breaks. It is about visiting friends as well. You experience a fuller life. And that's one, I know for certain that that's one thing that I want to experience. Everyone who sits down and they just face their work without experiencing other aspects of their life, sometimes along the way, experience regret as well. Why am I doing all of these things? I didn't experience any other aspect of my life. Why was it just all work that I was doing? I could have been doing something else as well. I could have been enjoying myself. I could have developed relationship with other people and all of that. So yeah, these are the importance of balancing our career aspirations with our domestic responsibility. And I need you guys to see this because I'm sure that a lot of us want to experience this, right? It shouldn't all be about achieving your career goals. May we not get to a point where we feel like, oh, we've gotten all the career and all the degrees, and we're now a director, but okay, we don't have a fantastic relationship with our children. We could have done better in raising them and all of that. Or we don't even have a fantastic relationship with other people as well, our other family members, right? So that's why we need that balance. And that's why that balance is important, right? So I move on to the next slide, understanding the challenges. And I know that I may have touched on a few things while I was speaking during the introduction. As a career woman, as a mom in tech, right? It's possible that you might get a job, right, that would expose you to continuous long hours of work, crazy deadlines, attending meetings all the time, such that you only have time for your work maybe later in the evening. And so you don't even have time for your children. And there might also be those issues about unexpected work trips where you just have to jump up and go. And I know that if you've been in the working environment for quite a while, I'm sure you'd have experienced unexpected work trips, right? Now, when you experience all of these work demands and you do have domestic responsibilities, you have children to care for, you have household to manage, you know that you need to be with your family at certain times. There's a strain that it causes, right? And this is where we talk about imbalance in our career and in our domestic responsibilities. Imagine that you have a job that you don't have any time for your family, right? There's certainly an imbalance. And the imbalance is that you are giving your work so much time that it is at the detriment of your family, right? Or it's at the detriment of your domestic responsibilities. And what would tend to happen as a result of this imbalance is that you get stressed out. You're always working. So you don't have time. You're stressed out, you're burnt out. At some point, you feel you're not productive anymore. And you have strained relationships because you're not keeping relationships with your friends and family. And from a mental perspective, some people even just dive into depression at this point because they just feel like all I'm doing is work. I don't have time for family. I want to have time for family. So these are the kind of challenges that, some of us as career women face. And what we then now need to do is to take a step back, right, and think about strategies that will enable us achieve our career goals, right, and at the same time meet our domestic obligations, such that our domestic obligations do not suffer. And so I'll be speaking about the strategies for achieving work-life balance. I've spoken about the challenges. I've given an introduction on what work-life balance essentially means, right? And the advantage or importance of having, a balance between your career aspirations and your domestic responsibilities. Now we're moving on to the strategies that we can use to achieve work-life balance. The first being, in no particular order anyway, being setting our priorities. What is important to us? Identify what your values are. What is important to me, Iyiola Oyefeso? In terms of my career growth, what is important to me? In terms of family, what is important to me? In terms of my personal health, what is important to me? That should be top of mind to every one of us, right? And having looked at that, being able to identify what is important for us, we can then now look at our career goals and our personal goals. I expect that every one of us have our career and personal goals, and there should be one that is achievable and realistic as well, right? And once you are able to determine what is important to you and what your career and personal goals are, it helps you to be able to break down. And then, of course, the next thing you need to do, once you know what your goal is, You then now break down your goals into actions. What are the things that I need to do in order for me to be able to achieve these goals? Those actions become your responsibility, right? Now, what you need to do is to prioritize those responsibilities in accordance to how important they are to you and how urgent they are, right? And in prioritizing it, you also allocate time to them. So when you allocate time to your responsibilities, it speaks to time management, which we would also speak about in the next slide, right? What it helps you do is that you are able to achieve your goals. That thing that is very important to you, because you've broken down your tasks into actionable points and you've allocated time to them, regardless of whether or not you are in the mood to do something, as long as you are following through with your schedule, you will eventually meet your goals. And when you are setting your priority and your responsibilities, understand that it's not just career responsibilities. It's also your personal, your family life responsibilities, your domestic responsibilities as well, right? So on a to-do list, in a day, you can have, you start out, obviously, you start out your day with your domestic responsibilities. And along the line, you start out with your you go on to your work responsibilities. And towards the end of the day, in the evenings, you can then go back to your domestic responsibilities. Have time slots for all of these things. I'm not saying that this can be, obviously you would have to rejig it as time days go by or things change. It doesn't have to be cast on stone. But what is important here is that there's time allocated for every responsibility of yours. Because what that helps you do is to have clarity on what you need to do. And the reality is that sometimes you might not be able to do these things yourself. You can't delegate. We'll get to that point in the next couple of slides. So the first is setting priorities. The next is time management, using time management techniques. And one thing that I know, I'm certain that we all know, is that time management increases productivity. You already have a proper schedule as to what you want to do, right, per time in terms of your task, in terms of your meetings and all of that. It will certainly increase efficiency. It would increase productivity, and it will reduce stress and burnout because you have a clear understanding of what you want to do. You have it on a calendar. You've planned yourself ahead. You can see all of your to-dos. The ones that you feel that you can do on your own, you take note of it. The ones that you feel that you can't do on your own, you look for people that can support you in achieving those tasks, right? But the important thing to do is to, first of all, even have those task management tools that would enable you to be able to carry out with your responsibilities. And when you hear task management tools, it doesn't have to be anything out of anything major. It could just be your calendar on your computer, on your phone, on Outlook, imputing things that you need to do per time in your calendar, or using a planner. Some people may even want to use apps in order to be able to schedule their tasks and their appointments. That's fine, as long as you have everything well organized. Another thing that you need to do is to allocate specific time blocks to your work and domestic tasks. And I spoke a bit about that earlier in the other slide, right? You can insert, you already know the things that you need to do during the day in terms of work, right? State all of the things that you need to do, time block it, right? Oh, I will be reviewing this agreement. I'm speaking from a legal perspective now because it's very important. I slip it into a time frame and I ensure that I finish looking at it within that time, right? And then I move on to something else and I move on to something else. Generally, I found that when you have a to-do list and you time block your task, at the end of the day, you find that you've done almost, if not everything, you've done most of your tasks for the day. And there's that feeling of fulfillment that comes with it. And the task doesn't necessarily have to be only work. It would also be domestic work as well. So you're taking your children to school, you would definitely have to wake up early in the morning. Do you want to set an alarm for that? Have a time for waking them up, for bathing them, for getting them ready for school, for cooking, making breakfast for them, and all of just have everything planned out. And then, but I'm still going to speak to the fact that some of these things don't necessarily have to be done by us because we will burn out, right? Depending on the location you're joining in from. In Nigeria, we have it easy because we can't get domestic staff. We can get drivers. We can take advantage of the school bus and all of that. So it's a lot easier to be able to delegate some of these tasks. But in order for you to ensure that nothing falls through the cracks, you must ensure that you time block all of your tasks so that you know what you're supposed to do at every point in time, so that nothing suffers. Your work doesn't suffer, your domestic responsibility doesn't suffer. Another thing that you can look at in terms of time management is to batch similar tasks. So you know that on Saturday you want to go out for shopping, you want to go and get groceries and all of that. Why don't you not only get groceries, but when you come back home, you can also decide that today is the day that I rearrange my pantry. Today is the day that I clean out my pantry and rearrange it. Today is the day that I clean out my storage devices, my freezers and my fridges, and I rearrange it. That's a task that you've already done. So batching similar tasks together also increases efficiency, right? So I will move on to the next strategy, being open communication, right? It's so important to communicate your workload and your deadlines, and even your family life to an extent, sometimes with your employers and your colleagues. And I said discuss family life because it helps your employers, your line managers, to understand how much you value your family and sometimes what's going on. If it's important, if something is going on at home that might negatively impact the quality of your work or the delivery of your task, you must tell your employers, right? So that they can have a backup plan, or maybe they can just reassign your task to someone else. But it's important to speak to your employers or your line manager. You have work, or you feel that you're swamped with work. Don't just take on all the work and just say, okay, do this. Okay, I'm excited. They're giving me work. Let me start working. You feel overwhelmed, but you are not speaking up. You need to speak up. I'm currently working on this. Which one do you consider more important, or do you consider urgent that I should work on? So that they know that you are working on something. And so the new task you're giving to me can only be worked on when I'm done with this. And this will take me quite a while to finish. So you are managing expectations. Nobody is expecting that you revert within a twinkle of an eye or within the next 1 hour or 2 hours because they've given you work, right? Because you failed to tell them that you had other pressing tasks that they had given to you or someone else had given to you. So you need to manage expectations. You need to speak to them about your workload. You might even need to renegotiate your deadlines. They come to you and they give you a deadline. You can renegotiate and say, oh, can I turn it in at so time because I'm doing X, Y, Z? Or even because I need to take my child to the hospital. How important is it? When would you like to have it? And then they give you a closer time and you're like, oh, I already have a hospital. And this is an example, by the way. I already have an appointment to take my son to the hospital for this time. Can I turn it in at a later time? Right. This is all about communication. You're not keeping quiet and just thinking, oh, how am I going to deal with this? And then you start dropping the ball and then people start thinking that you are incompetent, right? Just because you have to deal with your domestic responsibilities and it's now negatively impacting your work life, right? There's also that thing about you speaking to your employers if you need to, about flexible working arrangements, which we would also speak to later in more details. Can I resume work later so that I can close maybe 1 hour later as well? Can I work from home or can I work from another location? Right. You can have those conversations with your employers. And what this helps you to do is that while you are doing your work, executing your work, trying to build a career, right, your home front is also not suffering because you are making time to buy after school for her play. You can have a discussion with her. Have that discussion with her and maybe even have a family member attend, right, attend on your behalf, right? You need help, you need extra hands. You can speak to your husband. Oh, I'm going out. The nanny is not going to be around this on. She's gone on her off. What they call for? Is it off? They call it now. Yeah, she's off duty for the weekend, right? And I need to be at so place at this time. Can you wait with the kids at home while I quickly dash down and come back? It's all about communication, asking for help when you need it, right? Sometimes it could be that you just need to dash down to the spa and back. It's weekend, I've worked so hard, I just need to relax a bit and I'll be back. Or I just need time off. I'm tired. I've worked so hard during the week and I just need that time to myself away from the kids. You can have that discussion with your partner or your husband, and yeah, he can step in while you are away, right? And then I've spoken about managing expectations from all parties, your children, your family, your colleagues, your employers. And there's also that thing about setting boundaries, right? Ensuring that you define your work time and your personal time. And I know of a colleague that when he started um, his job within our organization, he knew to always, as he's speaking to his line manager, he knew to always chip in and talk about how he spends time with his family, how he and his family went to this, here, how. What he tried to do with that is to build in his line manager's mind that I'm a family man and I spend time with my family. So even if his line manager wants to give him work at odd hours or during the weekends, he will think about it very well. It has to be very urgent. It has to be something that really, yeah, that it has to be something that is really urgent. And you will find that he would probably apologize. Oh, I apologize for taking your time, but please, can you do this? And it's not always often that happens because he's been able to define that, well, yes, I'm an employee within the organization. I'm here to work hard and put in my best, but I also have a family and I want to be able to spend time with my family. And he's been able to do that by just communicating, saying things by not, he probably didn't even say it directly. He didn't say it in this instance, he didn't even say it directly, but the line manager got the message that he's a family man and he respects that, isn't it? So we'll move on to the next strategy, which is delegation and outsourcing. And I spoke about this a bit when I was talking about the other things. We all should learn to delegate, whether it's at work or it's at home. And I say if possible at work, because I imagine that some people are in their entry level, while others could be managers and senior managers. As managers and senior managers, it's easier to delegate because you have a junior to delegate to. Or if you have a friend that is a colleague on your level, you can speak to the person, can you take on this task for me? Right. But it's important to delegate. And if you are in entry level, what you need to do when you feel that you can't take on a task is to speak to your line manager, giving them the reason why you can't take on that additional task. Oh, I need to be so place. I have additional work or that I'm currently working on. Like I said earlier, are you willing to wait or should we reassign this to someone else? Speak to them, manage their emotions or manage their expectations. I beg your pardon. Right. And yeah, delegate. When you delegate, you free up time for yourself and you have time to do other things that you possibly would not have had time to do. You have time to do more important tasks one, and then you also have free time to be able to attend to your domestic responsibilities as well. And in the home front, in Nigeria, we can't have it easy, like I said earlier. You can have your cleaners come in every now and then. You can have a driver when you're paying for the school fees. You can pay for a school bus that would drop the kids off in school and bring them back home. So that's off your responsibilities. You can get nannies that can get them ready for school and even sometimes cook their food as well and get them ready for school. All you're doing is supervising, right? Supervising and ensuring that everything is in order. I know people that pay people to go to the market for them. I know women that pay people, other service providers to go to the market for them, to go and buy groceries and bring it home for them. I know a couple of people that, in fact, I'm sure you've seen a couple of celebrities do that as well. They go to the market, they buy all the groceries for them, they bring it home, they sort it out. So a lot of these things can be delegated. When you delegate these things, you then now have time. You have time to spend with your children. You have time to work in peace. You have time to spend with your friends. You have time to spend with your husband. And generally, you just need to learn to seek support, right? Don't die in silence. Don't keep quiet. Don't take all they send you work. And I see people say, learn to say no. But I'm also very diplomatic. When they say learn to say no, what they are trying to say is don't overcommit. Don't take more than you can chew, right? If your line manager brings a task to you that you feel that you cannot do, because you already have a lot of work. Again, like I said earlier, there's a way that you will speak to him that he will understand and, say, oh, yeah, I think I should just be assigned this task to someone else. I don't think you'll be able to do it because of the amount of work that you have or because of what you are currently passing through. I'm now not saying that we should not use that. When I say currently passing through, because you can't have domestic issues, right? But I also find that people would come and sometimes even lie about their situations just so that they can avoid work. That's not what I'm preaching here. I believe that as career women who are seeking to raise diligent children, we also must be diligent in our work, right? It's so important to be diligent in wherever it is that you find yourself. So, yeah. So I will be speaking to the next strategy, which is flexibility and remote work, right? And with this, I mean, in recent times, we've heard a lot about flexible work hours and working remotely. Essentially, what flexible working hours means is your ability to be able to work at different times, not necessarily the traditional working hours. So you can speak to your line manager or your boss and say, oh, I can't resume at 8 o'clock. Can I resume at 9 o'clock or at 10 o'clock? And then resume and then close work later, 2 hours later, right? Or can I work longer hours for 4 days in the week and have a free day on Friday, right? If they allow you to do that within your organization, fantastic. Or some organizations are just even, they're more, particular about the delivery of your work and that it comes back at the time that they need it, more than the number of hours that you spend physically at work. Working remotely as well is a form of flexible working hours as well, because instead of you having hours to be able to do, is to somewhat blend work and personal life and blend it in such a way that it doesn't create any form of inefficiency, between the both of them, right? Because I know that earlier I've said set your boundaries in terms of your work tasks and your work life and your domestic responsibilities. But there are some times when you can have work life integration, right? There are some times that I work from home, and while working from home, I'm able to cook. So because I have a housekeeper, they prep up all the things that I need. And then once it's time to cook, I enter the kitchen, pour the ingredients in, right? And when I'm done cooking, right, I have a housekeeper that will clean up and pack all the food. But I've cooked, right? I know you can also, do some sort of work-life integration. An example I gave here was taking work calls while doing light household tasks like cleaning up, tidying up your room. You can't be on a call and you're tidying up your room. So working remotely and flexible working hours enables you to do these kind of things, right? And then we also speak about self-care and personal time. I mentioned this earlier. Oh, self-care is very important. You need to love yourself, right? One thing that I always think about when I do a lot of time when I work is my life is so important to me. My physical health is so important to me. I remind myself of the fact that if I'm not available to do that work, right, someone else will do it. So while I know that I want to do the work well and I want to be there for the organization like I'm supposed to be, I also need to bear in mind that my physical health and my mental health is very important. So I will take all the break that I need to take, use my my leave dates if I need to use my leave date. Relax, spend time relaxing, spend time doing things that you love to do, pursue interests. Don't let it be all about work, because when you let it be all about work, it will drain you, right? It will drain you out, right? And that's where we start talking about stress and burnout and all of it. You don't want that. You want a balance. So you can just decide that this Saturday, oh, I've worked hard from Monday to Friday. This Saturday, I just want to go somewhere to relax. It might be going to go and visit a friend. It can be going to the spa alone. It can be going out to eat by yourself. It can be just being in your room, closing your door and Netflixing and chilling. There's a way you feel when you relax and you're not thinking about work. You are just relaxing. When you then now start work, you feel rejuvenated, right? So it's very important that self-care is very important, and it's very important that you spend time taking care of yourself and having your personal time. Now, another strategy for achieving work-life balance is certainly leveraging technology. We all know how technology makes life easier for a lot of us and make our tasks even easier, right? In terms of our work life, there are several apps for managing tasks, scheduling meetings, sending you reminders. Another thing that you could also do is to automate tasks that are repetitive, right? So I don't know how it works within your organization, but when emails drop into your box, you will typically send an acknowledgement acknowledging the email. I've seen this email, I'm going to work on it, right? You could make that automated, right? As long as you know that you have access to your email, right? So as long as your computer is open, the automative, the email just goes out to the person sending the email to you, right? Another thing that you can consider doing is to set up a standing order for your bills in your bank, right? So that you don't have to physically have to pay the bills all the time. You can just, once you receive your salary on a particular date, there might be some recurring bills that you need to pay that can be done via transfer. That makes it easy for you to do, right? Another way that you can leverage technology to make your life easy is to, rely on what we're currently using, Zoom, Teams, to do your meetings. Imagine many years ago how we would have conferences and I would have had to physically be at the conference to be able to, deliver this presentation. But I'm here at home, my children are around, I know they're safe, I know they're fine, right? And, and that makes me even feel it makes me feel, good, just knowing that my house is sorted and I can deliver this presentation from home. Another thing I didn't add here, but it's some form of technology and it helps you to be able to oversee your home. I had, what's it called? What are those things called now? I have one here. Why has that skipped my mind now? CCTV, exactly. CCTV, being able to access your home real time. You're not home, but you can look at your phone and you can know what's going on in your kitchen, with your children in their rooms, and in your sitting room, and whatever part of the house that you have the CCTV in, right? That gives you a level of comfort just knowing that your home is in order, right? While you carry on with your work, right? So that's another tool. And I'm sure there are several other kinds of technology that you can use to make your task, your domestic task easier, and even your work responsibility easier as well, right? So now we'll be going on to case study. And I know that as I spoke, I've said a few things about, the things that some experiences, right? So, but I'll be speaking about myself. I don't know if I said earlier that I've been married for over 12 years. First of all, I've been working for over 15 years as a professional. Now, I've been married for over 12 years and I've had children for at least 10 years. My oldest child is 10. My second child is 6, right? And in all of this, I've been able to manage my career from being a legal associate within a law firm to now heading the legal department of a group of companies in the midst of everything, right? And a lot of the things that I spoke about earlier, the things that I did, right? I started out when I got married, it was just the both of us. Um, we didn't really have that much responsibilities. I had a few domestic responsibilities, cooking for my husband, cleaning the house. In fact, weekends, I used to get someone to come and clean the house. Because why? I work Monday to Friday. Should I not rest a bit? Right? I oversee what the person, because I didn't think that it was important for me to get a help at the time. It was just two of us. The moment we had children, the moment I had my son, I had to get a housekeeper, right? And so I got a housekeeper, but more importantly, my mom came to stay with me for a year. So that made working easy for me. I was able to concentrate at work because I knew my mom was with my son, right? And that went on for a year. He started crash, and with crash, we leveraged on their after school service as well. My second daughter came, and then I got a proper mature nanny. With that nanny, I was able to travel on work trips without looking back, right? And I would come back while I'm away. She would send me pictures of my children, videos of my children, even without asking her, just to let me know that they're okay, right? And at some point, I even got CCTV so I could tell what was going on in the house, right? From a career perspective, nothing, I was also able to manage my time well. Yes, I had work I was doing, but I was conscious of my me time. I was conscious about, developing relationships and maintaining the relationships I had. I was very conscious about going to my children's school, being present in their life. Even as I traveled and I came back and I did so many things, I would still go for their school play. I would still go for their PTA meetings. I will still study with them during exams. I still do that till tomorrow. I study with them for their cycle tests and their exams. That's standard, right? And some people can even choose to get a lesson teacher if they want to, right? But what has helped me in all of this is that I have a very understanding husband. I have a good support system. I ask for help when I need to ask for help. When I feel overwhelmed at work, I speak to my line manager. When my mom was ill at a time, and it was obvious that I needed to spend time with my mom. Oh, I had flexible working hours because I could carry my laptop to the hospital room and be working from the hospital room, and nothing fell through the cracks. There were times when I delegated my work. I felt, okay, I'm not going to be available for this meeting. One of my team members can attend, right? So I did that very well. I was able to balance everything out. There was an interesting thing that happened about 2 years ago. My daughter had a play. She likes it when I'm there. And you know how children can be. They want their parents to be there. They are looking out for their parents. At the end of the play, you would then, come take pictures with your daughter or your son, and then go. There's a sense of happiness that they feel just seeing their parents there, right? And I had planned to go for this event, and my line manager then calls me and says, and my line manager is the GCO, by the way, is the number 2 person within the organization. He calls me and he says, oh, we have a meeting at this agency tomorrow by so time. The play was supposed to start around 8:30. He had requested that I be with him at a meeting for 10 o'clock. My first reaction to him was, I'm not going to be able to make it because my daughter's play is at so time, but I'm happy to assign this to this person to go with you. I knew he agreed, but I knew he wasn't happy, right? And I know that the reason why he probably agreed was because he's also a parent, and he knows how, parents can, please hold on a minute. There's a bit of noise at my background. I apologize. So this is part of being a mother, right? I'm sure you would have seen me yelling at my daughter, even though I muted. Um, they had warned them about this webinar, but as you would have it, you would have children run around, make noise within the house and distract you. So I apologize for that. Right. So as I was saying, I knew that he wasn't happy, but I had assigned the task to one of my team members. So what I did was I didn't tell him. I just went to my daughter's school, spent time with her, attended the play, took pictures with her, did everything, and then dashed down to the agency. I got there. He had given up. He didn't think I was going to be there, but I knew that he really wanted me to be there. So I dashed down there, got to the agency even before him. He was pleasantly surprised to see me the moment he walked in. And I was able to also, attend to his needs, my work needs, while also ensuring that my daughter didn't feel neglected because she needed me to be there. Right. So that's a in fact, till tomorrow, I think about the entire scenario and I'm like, that was so fantastic because I was still able to make out time for my daughter. And even when my line manager had given up, right, and didn't think I was going to be there, I showed up and I was still there for him. So there's that ensuring that you balance your career, your work, right, your work life with your domestic life, right? It's so important to find how you can balance it. And I've shared with you guys so many strategies on here that you can use, right? It's not cast on stone, depending on your scenario, right? There are things and depending on your priorities, you might feel that, oh, what you really need to do at that point in time is to go for that work meeting and miss that domestic responsibility, but assign someone else who can handle that domestic responsibility for you, right? Well, so what these strategies will help you do is to guide you on the approach that you can choose to utilize in ensuring that you have the right balance so that your family do not feel neglected and, work life is not suffering as well, right? So that will be all from me in terms of, yeah. So I've spoken about the case study. And so having spoken about all of these things, one thing that I want to leave you with today is to tell you that it's so important to maintain that balance in your daily life. That balance is so important because that's what will make you have that fulfilled life you are looking for, right? So having said this, look at the strategies, look at how you can apply it to your life and ensure that you maintain that work-life balance that is required of you. Thank you very much. I'm happy to receive your questions now.
Wow, that was such a eye-opening session. Please, let's give our speaker a round of applause with our reaction, or we can drop it in the comments. Thank you so much. We learned about the importance of balancing our career with our work life. We've also learned about the strategies we can use to achieve this. One of them is time management, which is absolutely important. Open communication, delegation, and outsourcing. That one is extremely important because we can't do it all. We are not jack of all trades. So we have to learn to harmonize everything. Please, if we have any questions, we can drop it in the comment section. And we give that a minute. We'll give you a minute for us to drop that in the comment section so our speaker can address the questions. Okay, so Barakat Awoyemi said CCTV.
Yeah.
We have that in our home. So in fact, we have the one which also records voices. It helps to monitor your home when you are not there. Totally agree, which is important. So our speaker has shared with us should I say a widget now on how to go about it so that we'll be calm even while we are away from our kids, having nannies, having CCTV around the house so we can monitor our kids and won't be scared that what is
Absolutely.
Eliana doing at home now? So we know what they are doing. They are reading, they are playing, which is important. Thank you so much, Ma, for your time. I guess someone asked that what if you can't afford a CCTV? How can you monitor your children when you are not with them?
So before I got a CCTV, I just ensured that I had trusted people I could trust. And I have trust issues, to be honest. I don't trust staff 100%. And so up until recently, when my kids are now grown, they're able to make decisions themselves, they're able to speak up. There was always someone at home with them, or maybe I'm lucky to have my mother-in-law in the next flat, right? So sometimes we speak to family. Sometimes when I have to go out, I just tell my husband, oh, I have to go out within this time. Are you able to stay at home with the children? Or can we ask mommy to come and stay with them? There's always that trusted person that, I live with my children. And if you're lucky enough to have a nanny that you trust 100%, fantastic. I used to have a nanny that I trusted 100%. She was family, right? That one, with that person, I could leave my kids at home and even travel, right? But we all know how difficult sometimes it is to have trusted nannies. You have to watch them for a while and all. So, yeah, that's how I've been able to manage that.